Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate Day number 836, July the 13th, 2019, Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, we have, we have one important piece of information regarding the Spygate investigation. We do have, let's see, what else have we got here? Yes, we have that. We have a follow-up on the story I was talking about for the last 2 days regarding Seth Rich and this story written by Isikoff and this U.S. attorney who was ahead of the Seth Rich case. We're going to get some more information on that today. And also a lot of just crazy little political items. So let's go ahead and kick it off and let's try to get it done before time runs out. Alrighty, so most of you have heard by now that Transportation Secretary Alex Acosta has resigned. He has resigned, and he did resign on his own. Trump did not ask him for his resignation. I think Trump may have hung in there and went to bat for him. After all, as I said on yesterday's video, once he did the press conference and laid out exactly what the facts were and the situation was that he found himself in, he did the best that he could do. And I could find no fault with what he did. And based on that, I changed my opinion. Because at first I said, he should resign. But after hearing the statement, I thought, well, he didn't do anything wrong. I think he did the best that he could do in a bad situation. The problem was with the prosecutor down in Florida. And I went through all this day before yesterday and yesterday as well. And many other outlets have gone into it in more detail. You can read about it. It's not a secret what happened down there in Florida and how that thing was set up to fail. So I don't fault Acosta for that. And I don't, on one hand, I don't think he should have resigned. I don't think he did anything that I think was cause for him to have to resign. And that's not why he resigned. He didn't resign because he did something wrong. Because I really don't believe he did, and I don't believe the president believes that, and I don't believe he believes that. It's just the simple fact of the matter is politics. Whenever someone in a president's administration is embroiled in any type of controversy, especially this president with the jackals and the hyenas and this media, this horribly biased communist media, it's even worse in this particular case. And so it would have been a major distraction. You can bet that the Democrats in the House would have held hearings. They would have dragged him in front of the 2 or 3 different committees in the House, and they would have used it to bludgeon Trump. And that wouldn't have been fair to Acosta. It wouldn't have been fair to Trump or anyone else. So I think he resigned. It's probably the right thing to do, although I don't think that he did anything, and he didn't do anything that should have led to that. It's simply politics, and it's about the fact that it would have been a very big distraction going forward. And so that's what happened, and it's a shame, but that is the reality in the swamp. It's how things work. I've seen it happen to many, many people before, and that's how it goes. So I wish him well. Well, it looks like the testimony of Uncle Bob, the drive-by executioner, is now going to be delayed by a week, and now they're even calling into question the hearings with Andrew Wiseass and the other people who were on the investigation. They were supposed to appear for 2 days for closed-door hearings, and that was really where the action was. And now it looks like that may even be in jeopardy. So basically what is going on here is that they only allotted 4 total hours worth of time to ask Uncle Bob, the executioner, questions. And they have 2 complete House committees who will be there to answer questions. And when you take a look at the time and allotted and the amount of members in the 2 committees, there simply isn't enough time for all the members to be able to get their 5 minutes. And there's something in the House of Representatives, a rule called Rule 11, which states that when you bring a witness, each member will be afforded 5 minutes to ask questions. And under the current setup, there would be at least 20 members, and those members have been identified who they would be, and they're both Republicans and Democrats. They would not be able to ask their questions. And so these Republicans and Democrats raised hell. and they're bringing into play Rule 11. And of course, it's turning into a gigantic Charlie Foxtrot. But what more would you expect when you've got the bug-eyed fool, the pencil-neck geek, Adam Schifferbrains, and the Penguin running and organizing this show? It could only end up as a Charlie Foxtrot. I want Uncle Bob to testify. And I want Andrew Wiseass and his team of henchmen to also be grilled for 2 days behind closed doors. There's a lot of questions because the entire Mueller report is a big old fat bag of crap. That's all it is. It's a hoax. It's a hoax to cover the hoax. What else could it be? I mean, you perform a hoax and then you have to have an investigation of the hoax. It can only be a hoax investigation. Can't have a real investigation about a hoax, can you? And therein lies the problem. And there's a lot of good questions that members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, would like to ask Uncle Bob the Executioner. And they'd like to get behind closed doors with Andrew Wiseass and Ginny Rhee and some of these people and grill them as well, along with those FBI investigators who were a part of the plot all along. Remember, the same 40 FBI agents who were involved in the Mueller deal were also active in the Operation Crossfire Hurricane. Same guys. So now it looks like it's been postponed by a week. And again, as I said yesterday, I'm not sure it'll ever happen. I sure hope it does. Well, it looks like Jeffrey Epstein, they've discovered that he had 2 secret rooms in this, one of the 2 island mansions. Apparently has 2 islands. One of those islands, this St. James, I think it's called, has 2 secret rooms. And there's a secret security box. We can assume that means some kind of safe in each of those rooms. And so the FBI is very interested in what's in those boxes, those security boxes. And they're pretty sure there's probably some cash in there, but they're pretty sure there's some other things because apparently he is very, very protective of these 2 security boxes. Doesn't allow anyone in those rooms. And so he's very, very protective of them, and now they know that they exist, and we can only assume at this point that the FBI is going to go get their hands on those security boxes, and God only knows what's inside there. But I think it's bad news for a lot of people, both Republican and Democrat, and probably not just U.S. citizens, politicians, Hollywood idiots. I'm thinking it's foreigners, high-level people in Europe and around the world. He spends an awful lot of time in Paris. The more you look at this guy, and you look at what he was doing, it appears that he was doing one of 2 things. He is either a very high-dollar pimp who provides underage girls to the ruling elite for large sums of money, or he runs an extortion racket. And you have to pay him to keep him quiet and to sit on all the evidence that he has gathered together of all these years. It appears this guy documents this stuff. Epstein was documenting with pictures, possibly video, handwritten notes, all sorts of things. And that's what the FBI is likely getting access to. So it's not clear to me at this point whether he was a high-level extortioneer or whether he was a high-level pimp, or maybe both. What a sick individual. And look who he hangs out with. Well, there's a rumor, and it's not just a rumor. There's multiple sources reporting this, including this I got from Paul Sperry. Apparently there's at least 5 people going on the record saying that this is happening. They're saying that Trump wants to dump Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats because he is stalling the declassification efforts. as I've mentioned many times before, Coates is a deep state hack. He plays for the other team. He is definitely not a white hat, let's put it that way. He's covering for the criminal conspirators and has been since day one. It appears that the rumors now are that Trump wants to replace Coates with Fred Fleitz. Now, and this is coming from Paul Sperry. Now, Fred Fleitz, he's always been pretty much of a neocon. He is definitely a pro-Israel sort of guy. He was very much like in the John Bolton camp, very much a neocon for most of the entire time that I've been watching this guy, which is many years. I mean, he goes on a lot of TV programs and internet broadcasts and things like that. He's been around for a long time. He's a think tanker, works at a think tank, always has worked at a think tank, worked for the CIA for I think 20 years or some odd. He retired from the CIA and went to work for these think tanks. But since Trump came along, Fleitz is one of these neocons because it's like when Trump got elected, it's like the neocons got split. Some of them were hardcore anti-Trumpers like Bill Kristol and those guys, Max Boot. They all hardcore anti-Trumpers and hate Trump. But some of the neocons, it appears, have split off and have become people who like Trump and defend him. And I've seen Fleitz since Trump's been elected. I got to admit, I mean, I've seen him on quite a few interviews, and I mean, you'd never know that at one time he was part of the Bill Kristol neocon crowd. He's either doing a hell of a good act or he's sincere. I'm not sure which, but it's Paul Sperry is suggesting that he's a pretty straight shooter, and that if he were in that position to DNI, that he would not be causing the holdup on the declassification of these documents. So I don't know Fleitz personally. I don't know what exactly the truth is. What it appears is that he supports Trump, and Trump's very pro-Israel, and that may be why Fleitz is like that, because he's very pro-Israel. But he certainly isn't on the other side. He isn't publicly criticizing Trump. He's pretty much publicly defending him. So I guess it's a good move. It wouldn't be my first choice. I can think of other people I would rather see in that position. But it's got to be better than Coates. Dan Coates is just horrible. And if I were Trump, I'd make it a threefer. I wouldn't just dump Coates. I would also dump Haspel, Gina Haspel, CIA. I would dump her and Christopher No Shit Sherlock Wray right along with them. I would take all three of them out at once. Just get rid of all three of them. They're all participating in bottling up the evidence that's needed to prove what happened in 2016, which was, of course, the frame-up, the coup. And so that's what I would recommend to President Trump. Yeah, if you get rid of Coates, absolutely 100%, no doubt about it. Tomorrow wouldn't be soon enough. But I would say go 2 steps farther. Take Christopher No Shit Sherlock Wray and Gina Haspel and put them all three on the same bus and ship their ass out of town. They're on the other side of the equation. They're on the other team, if you know what I mean. Bill and Hillary. Bill and Hillary. It appears that Slick Willie and the Right Reverend Clinton were booed last night at the Billy Joel concert. Billy Joel concert. Booed. Well, that didn't surprise me. I think that they've got some difficult issues ahead of them, but that won't stop the Rotten Reverend. That won't stop the Rotten Reverend. She'll never stop. Never. Well, let's see here. OcasioCortez, the wild-eyed commie. Every day, every single day that I do a video, there's something else that the wild-eyed commie has done or said that's just mind-boggling. So now, after suggesting that Madam Botox, Pelosi, is a racist, now AOC is suggesting that Madam Botox is deliberately inciting death threats against her. Wow. So, Madam Botox Pelosi has got to be absolutely fed up at this point. And if you remember, right after the midterms, I said, okay, they won. They won the midterms. That's right. But I said Pelosi is going to have a herd of wild cats. She's not going to be able to control them. And she's going to regret winning the House. Because it's going to cost them big. It's going to cost them very big. But I can tell you that Pelosi, I've been watching her for a very long time. She's a very shrewd player. She will cut your lungs out. I've seen her do it before. So my guess is that behind the scenes, she's had enough, and probably even before this, she's had enough. She will find a way to make sure that Ocasio-Cortez does not win that district again in 2 years. I can assure you that. In 2020, she is target number one. She probably, in Pelosi's mind, there's probably a bigger target on AOC than there is on Trump or any Republican. I can assure you of that. She's going to make sure that Ocasio-Cortez is done. And, you know, we saw what they did to Kucinich. They tried to run people against him for 3 or 4 election cycles, and they never could get rid of him because he was so popular, and they just ended up getting rid of his voting district. Now, they'll have some difficulty doing that in this particular case. Well, maybe not. I mean, she's in New York. Yeah, I know there's a lot of special interest there, but, you know, she's not that popular in her district either. They've been doing polls in her district. She's popular on Twitter, but in her district, she's not that popular, and according to other Democrat members of Congress who are coming out and defending Pelosi, she's not all that popular in the overall caucus. It's just her and those 3 nuts that stick together and do a lot of PR and Twittering and things and such. So my guess is that Pelosi has already targeted AOC to be eliminated, however they have to do it, including they'll give up a Democratic seat if they have to. They would rather have a Republican in that seat than have AOC. I can assure you that. Probably Pelosi, I'm sure, has had her fill of this, and I would expect to see that happen. But I got to be honest with you. I mean, you know, Pelosi will win the war. I mean, I have no doubt about that. She's got the power. She'll win the war. But Ocasio-Cortez is winning the fight. She'll lose the war in the end, but she's winning this fight, and she'll win a lot more. And here's why: because if you look at the top, all the top tier Democrat candidates for president, every one of the top tier are all on board with Ocasio-Cortez's entire agenda, from A to Z. So if the entire Democratic field, all the people at the top of the field are all moving as far left as they can to be able to get the support of all those AOC fans, which is what appears that they're doing, Ocasio-Cortez is winning in the PR game. Now, in the power politics and reality of Washington, D.C., Pelosi will win. She controls the game. But in the meantime, AOC is going to make her life extremely miserable and probably cause the Democrats to lose. Certainly they're going to lose the White House in 2020. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But they could end up losing the House as well, and that would be fantastic to get the House back. And hopefully get a House without a Paul Big Ears Ryan as the Speaker. And I'm not much of a McCarthy fan either, but better than Big Ears Ryan. So yeah, we'll keep watching this develop. But I'm telling you, there's a lot more coming. Pelosi's got another year, more than a year, to put up with this nut, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. And in fact, AOC is connected to this group of Democratic activists who want to push out Pelosi and all the moderate liberals, if you want to call liberals moderate. But I mean, compared to AOC, Pelosi looks like a centrist, and she's as far left as you can get, you would think. But when you look at AOC, I mean, you know, it's not that Ocasio-Cortez and her group are you know, max liberals. They're just nuts. I mean, they're just nuts. The ideas that they propose and the things that they say are just nuts. They're not even viable. You know, so I mean, how do you deal with that? And that's what Madame Botox is trying to wrestle with in her mind. She's trying, you know, how do you deal with these people? They're not even rational. Exactly, just exactly what I predicted. Enjoy, Madame Botox. Well, it looks like we have some PhDs in New Zealand have come up with a brainstorm. Yes, these PhDs in New Zealand want to end all global-based professional sports. No, all gender-based. I'm sorry. PhDs in New Zealand want to end all gender-based professional sports. They want a genderless system. Okay. Do you want to absolutely destroy sports? That's exactly what you do. But actually, it would be fun for like one weekend. Let's just do it for one weekend and see how it works out. Just as a test. I know. So let's kick off the NFL season. And on the first play from scrimmage, let's give a handoff up the middle to what's her name? Megan Rapinoe. Let's give her the ball and send her up the middle. Maybe when the team's playing against maybe the Steelers, let's send her up to the middle into the Steelers defense for a running play. Oh my God! Better yet, let's throw a pass to her across, have her cutting across the center of the field, right in front of the linebackers, and let's see her catch a pass coming across the middle of the field. Let's see Megan Rapinoe try that. Let's see how that works out. Hey, here's another good one. How about we take some other female athlete, take your pick, and let's put her in the batter's box, the next Major League Professional Baseball game, and see how she handles that 100-mile-an-hour fastball right underneath her chin. Let's see if she ever gets back in the batter's box again. You'll find her in the red seats. As soon as that 100-mile-an-hour fastball goes by her chin, she'll be up in the red seats. You won't ever see her or any other woman on the field again. Or better yet, let's put her on the pitcher's mound. and let her pitch to some major league hitters. Let's see what her ERA is. She would never get out of the inning. How about nothing but female pitchers for one day in the major leagues? You'd never get out of the first inning. They would just keep batting around. How about in the NBA? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine women basketball players in the NBA with the men? That would be great. They should play a game. Women versus the men. What do you think the score would be? So I think we should try this experiment for like one weekend. 1 weekend in Major League Baseball, 1 weekend in the NFL, and 1 weekend in the NBA. How about hockey? Oh, God. Could you imagine? Boom! We should do it for 1 weekend, and that would be the end of that crazy idea. Who came up with that shit? You trying to get somebody killed? I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to take a handoff and run up the middle into the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line. They'd be carting me off the field on a stretcher. I mean, them people are serious, man. They're really big, they're really strong, they're really fast, and they hit you really, really hard. It'd be crazy. Which is why I brought it up. Okay. Well, as we know, Uncle Bob the Executioner and the FBI did not prove that the Democratic National Committee was hacked by Russia. So my question is AG Barr and Mr. Durham going to go there? They're looking for the origins. Well, there you go, the origins, the DNC hack. What will they do when they come to the conclusion that it cannot be proven? And we know it cannot be. What if they interview Julian Assange and he provides to them the evidence of who didn't or who did give him those emails? I'm just waiting to see what happens there. Now, let's see, in the video from 2 days ago and yesterday's video, I was talking about the Seth Rich thing. And I told you about this article that Michael Isikoff wrote, and he uses as a source this woman, Debbie Sines, who was this U.S. attorney who was in charge of the Seth Rich case. And so I'm talking about that, and she was trying to make the argument that she uncovered evidence that proves that it was the Russians who created the Seth Rich conspiracy. And we, of course, we all know that's bullshit. Not true. But then I found out the next day that she provided all this evidence to Uncle Bob the Executioner and his team. And so I asked the question about, hey, did you see anything in the Mueller report about Seth Rich? Did anybody hear anything about that? And I hadn't. I hadn't heard anything. I hadn't seen anything. So I decided last night, before I, just ride off into the sunset with that thought and never revisit again, I thought I would just check and see, because it's a long report. And the woman does say, according to Ignatius, Isikoff, does say that she provided this information. And I'm like, well, if that information is there, it should be in the Mueller report. So lo and behold, my friends, if you go to page 48 of the Mueller report, page 48 of the Mueller report, you will find about a half a page in there about Seth Rich. Now, it doesn't talk about the information from this Deborah Signs about the Russians creating the Seth Rich narrative. He didn't want to obviously bring that up, but he does mention Seth Rich. It's about a half a page worth, where he does mention Seth Rich in terms of how he says that Julian Assange was trying to suggest that maybe Seth Rich had something to do with getting the emails, and he says incorrectly, but only because Assange was trying to deflect away from himself and put it on someone else. So that's the context of how Uncle Bob, the executioner, puts this Seth Rich thing into the report. It's on page 48. It's about a half a page worth, maybe 5-6 paragraphs there. Definitely worth taking a look at. So check it out. It's there. Trump in a press conference today before leaving for 2 rallies he's going to do today, one in Wisconsin, I think, and one in Ohio. Trump told the reporters, he said that they need to find out who the people were who went to Epstein's island. Oh yeah, we surely do. Because I'm pretty sure Slick Willie was one of them, and a lot of other Hollywood elites. And, the list of names that I've seen is just incredible. Some of the people. It wouldn't surprise any of us. We know who they are. Kevin Spacey and people like that. But there's Republicans on that list as well. Well, we have Kamala Harris, who, of course, got her start in politics in the between the sheets with San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, who says that Kamala's only good at one thing. Still waiting to find out what that is. So Kamala Harris is now saying that Russia clearly influenced the 2020 campaign. She said this in a radio interview, and she also is now saying that the Russians are targeting her campaign. They're targeting her 2020 campaign, and she's not even won the nomination yet. She already thinks she's running for president. She hasn't even won the nomination yet, and I doubt she will. It's possible, but I doubt it. She also is saying that it's Russian bots. The Russian bots are already targeting her campaign, and she said it's the same Russian bots who were the cause of the Kaepernick scandal and all that went on with Kaepernick. The Russian bots? Clearly, she's nuts. And her grandparents owned slaves. Let's see. Are the Iranians and the UK going to war? That's a good question. The Iranians are certainly peppering them. And the UK is responding by sending a more, I'd say, a much better ship into the region. Will there be fireworks? Will there be gunfire exchanged? Who knows? I'd put my money on the UK in this fight myself. But as long as we don't jump into it, I guess I'd be a spectator. But the Iranians, I don't know, they may be biting off more than they can chew. The UK has some pretty powerful weapons. And I think Iran would not get the good end of that deal. But what you got to worry about is it expanding into a larger war and drawing a lot of other people in, including us. We don't want that to happen. I would rather them just sit back, keep their powder dry, and let Trump work the sanctions and the other pressures and see what we can have from that point of view. Really don't need a breakout war in the Gulf right now. And if it gets out of hand and expands, it'll draw everyone else in, and that's not what we want. So hopefully the UK will keep their powder dry. But if the Iranians are going to try to, hijack ships and fire rockets and shit like that, there may not be any choice. At some point, you just may have to hit these people. I don't know. It's the worst thing in the world I can imagine. And I can't imagine anything good coming out of it. But I don't know. The Iranians are pretty desperate right now. And maybe that's important. hopefully the economic sanctions are enough. Well, we have PMS MSNBC now going after crazy China Joe, and they're asking the question, is Biden trying to win the nomination with an Obama mask? In other words, what they're saying is he can't go out and do a campaign rally and not spend most of his time talking about Obama and what Obama did in the Obama years. And it's making him look very weak. That's because he is very weak, and it's all he can do. He has nothing else left. And on top of that, what makes it even worse is that neither of the Obamas are coming out not only to endorse him or even give him an honorable mention, they're not even defending him when he's being accused of being a racist. It's not very good. I told you, Uncle Joe, get out. Get out, just like you did in Nam. Get out. Yes, I don't know how many of you saw that hearing today. Hearing today with Tom Homan. He absolutely destroyed OcasioCortez. And now you want to know, if you want to watch a 3-minute video and you want proof positive that woman is absolutely dumber than dirt, watch that video. I mean, literally, it's hard to believe that you're watching a member of Congress question somebody like Homan, who's been, in border security and law enforcement for 35 years. It's almost like you're watching a 6-year-old ask questions. It's that bad. I mean, it's like she's completely devoid of the grasping the most basic concept that crossing into the country illegally is a crime. She doesn't seem to be able to grasp that. It's crazy to watch. It really is. I highly recommend you watch that little video clip, Tom Homan and Ocasio-Cortez. It's all over YouTube. You got to see it. It's 3 minutes long. It's unbelievable. And man, the fact that so many people running for the nomination in the Democratic Party side with Ocasio-Cortez on just about everything, it's scary stuff, man. When you look at the numbers of people that support her. Okay, since this Epstein story came out, it's extraordinary. If you listen to all the left-wing media outlets, I think it was Tucker Carlson or Hannity, I can't remember which one, had a montage of like 15 different clips of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, you name it, PBS, the whole crew, every single one, running these headline stories, Trump and Epstein, Trump. What about Trump and Epstein? How about Trump's friendship with Epstein, Epstein's friendship with Trump? Unbelievable. As if it's just Epstein and Trump. They mention none of the other people, including the biggest offender, Slick Willie, and all these other Democrats. They don't ever mention the fact that Trump kicked the man out of his club. He cooperated with a prosecutor, gave him information. He hasn't talked to him in 15 years, says he doesn't like him, the whole 9 yards. But yet they disregard all that and try to tie Trump to Epstein. So I have a question, and this is a question for all of you in the comments section. Just a simple yes or no question. Simple yes or no question for all of you in the comments section. Here it is. Will ABC News report that George Stephanopoulos, host of ABC's This Week, and Katie Couric attended the celebrity dinner for Epstein after he completed his 13-month jail sentence? Stephanopoulos and Couric said they still considered Epstein as a social friend. Also at that dinner was Chelsea Handler and Woody Allen. So, that's my question. Will ABC News report that George Stephanopoulos and Katie Couric attended the celebrity dinner for Epstein after he completed his 13-month jail sentence? That's the question. Yes or no? Do you think they'll report that on ABC? Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See ya. Bye.